fighters are crazy, man. We go through these moments where it's like we know it's not. Probably shouldn't take that fight. If I was managing myself, I was like, no, you're out of this fight, right? But as a fighter, we don't do that. We can't do that. We keep fighting in those fights.
In the most stupidest times too, we just do it.
Emilio, the Honey Badger Urrutia!
Yo, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Honey Badger Hour. This episode of the Honey Badger Hour podcast is brought to you by the original Clippers Barbershop. We're live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Honey Badger Hour. We got the double champ exclusive. It's your boy, the Badger, and we're back. And today we got a big one. Today we're joined by the former two-time one championship. We got two former two-time champs. On my left-hand side, we got representing Myanmar, the Burmese Python, former middleweight one championship champion, former light heavyweight champion, the Burmese Python, Aung Lang San.
What's up?
Now you're done.
Yeah, thank you for the intro.
My man. And on the right-hand side here, grab your microphone, grab the mic. On the right-hand side, we're joined by another two-time former champion. We got the featherweight one championship former champion, the former lightweight champion, my man, Martin, the Situation Win. Those were terrible introductions. Sorry, boys.
My God.
Dom Lau's about to lose his job.
Dom Lau, watch out, player.
We'll be vouching for Amelia for sure.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, guys.
For sure.
Aung Lao, thank you for having me in your beautiful home here in sunny South Florida.
It's beautiful here. Right?
Yeah, how long you guys been here now?
Since 2019.
Yeah.
Since 2019. It's a good place to live, because I'm raising a family here as well. I got 3 kids, 8-year-old, 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old, and it's a little further from the hustle and bustle of Fort Lauderdale, and it's a beautiful place to live here. Nice weather, great environment. People are very friendly here as well, so we love it here.
Nice, man. And so you've been training here since 2019?
No, since 2018. I did my first 2 camps here. Won my first fight with a knockout in the first round. My second fight I won with a 5th round knockout, and I was like, I told my wife, babe, we need to move down here. This is where we need to be, and this is where the place that we can get better. And build a better future for our family. So that's what we did. Move down here.
Oh, wow. So you were already training here when you fought in Myanmar, right? That's when you got the 5th round against the Japanese? I forgot his name. I'm going to mess up all your opponents' names.
Ken Hasegawa.
Ken Hasegawa. Oh, so you were already training for that fight in that one.
Yep.
In the sold-out Myanmar crowd.
Yep. So I was like, man, this is where we need to be, and I had such a good connection with the people here, and especially Henry Hoof, like we had such a tight bond. I was like, man, this is where we need to be. And, up north in Maryland, I was just training with mostly amateur people. So I was like, I need to either do it now or never, So I took the leap of faith, and here we are.
Yeah, and it's definitely paid off, right? Like where we are
sure.
now, two-time double champ, in the top of the division right now, and on a 3-fight winning streak, man. So looking sharp, bro. Hell yeah.
And only like I know it sounds like cliche almost, but I'm gonna get better. And I'm older now, but I still know there's a lot of fight left in my heart and in my soul, so it's gonna be good.
Nice, man. We can't wait, bro. Looking forward to your next one. And then on my right, we got my man Martin Nguyen. We've been in the same division a few times. Actually,
they've been trying to fight each other.
Yo, we're gonna do the pre-fight. This would be great. That'll be great for the pre-fight build-up. You know what I'm saying? You guys have both made your way throughout all the divisions. My man, you started in the featherweight division, right? For one championship?
Yeah.
But you also challenged for the bantamweight title.
I challenged Bibiana Fernandez for the, that was after winning the lightweight title. I went for the 3rd strap, cut weight down to, 145 to fight Bibiana, and lost a split decision there, bro.
Oh, I know that was a razor close fight, man. So you guys Wow. So, but you started your career in the one championship division at featherweight, right?
Featherweight, correct? Yes. I signed with One Championship in 2013. Had my debut. Was meant to make my debut earlier 2014 against Bruno Pucci. And then I got injured and caught an infection, and I had to pull out of that fight. But later on, in about I think September, I made my debut against Rocky Batol, rest in peace. And yeah, it all kicked off from there. My second fight in, I fought for the world title against Murat Gafarov. I was meant to fight Bashir, who actually works for One Championship at the moment, and 2 days before the fight, was told that I was being moved up to main event to fight for the interim world title, and so the journey began from there, bro.
Oh my God, that's right. That was your second fight when you fought Murat.
Yeah.
So he was supposed to fight somebody and they didn't get into the country or something.
So,
the
yeah,
visa, right?
yes. So he was meant to fight Jadamba. So
Who you ended up.
Yeah. So then that fight was a banger fight between Murat and Jadamba anyway, to unify the champion. But Jadamba couldn't get into Jakarta at the time, and I thought there was other people in the division that deserved the title shot before I did, and gracefully God gave it to me, and One Championship guys picked me, and although it didn't go my way, but it's still that from that moment on, it kind of built like a fire in me to make me realize like how bad I wanted to be there, and how bad I wanted to be amongst the best in the world, and it made me really put my head down and push this MMA career from there.
That's one of the things I want to I was going to ask you guys both these questions actually. So I'm glad you brought that up, man, because I noticed that you had a real surge in your career. After that loss to Murat, that's when you went like on an 8-fight winning streak, and you made the run for the rematch, right?
Definitely.
Like it's like you can tell something changed in you. You know what I mean? It was like a before Murat, after Murat, Martin win. I noticed in your career.
Definitely,
like,
yeah.
you.
That first fight, I mean, I've never been. I never lost that fight. Like, I'd say it was like one of the most embarrassing losses because I had so much more to show, but. Obviously, Murat showed up and he capitalized on my mistakes, and he submitted me 40 seconds into the first round. And so, that did ignite a fire in me. I went back, just put my head down, trained as best as I could, but between the working times that I had, and I went to work in the morning, and I could finish work and went straight to training from work, and just did whatever I can. Thankfully, One Championship gave me a fight against Edward Kelly, and the surge went from there.
Yeah, that's when you had like the nice run, right? You stopped Edward Kelly, and then you went like a little knockout run. That's when you were knocking everybody out, right?
So it was Edward Kelly, Lee Kai Wen, Christian Lee, Yokota, and then rematched Murat, beat him, won the second title against Edward Folayang, fought for the third world title against Bibiana Fernandez, and then it went from Christian Lee again to Kevin Bellingon for the interim bantamweight title, because I was meant to rematch Bibiana. He got injured, and so I fought Kevin Bellingon. That journey didn't go my way, and so I went back and just fought Jadamba and Masashima again.
Oh yeah, so you fought Jajamba after coming back from bantamweight.
Yeah.
Was it hard changing weight classes like that, and for as far as your diet and nutrition and stuff like that?
Yeah,
you feel
look,
the difference transitioning so fast?
I'll be a fool if I didn't say it didn't take a toll on my body, but obviously it did. But I just dealt with it the best I could at that time.
Yeah, definitely, man. But then
I jumped around weight classes too. Like in my career, I fought light heavyweight, I fought middleweight, and I fought welterweight. And I know like at welterweight, I was getting knocked out, and it's like something was not right. So I feel the same about weight cutting. If it makes you better at that weight class, good. But if it takes away from the fighter that you are, it's not worth it. Because 100%. In training room, you're gonna train against guys at a high weight class. You're gonna train against guys that are a little bit bigger than you.
That's when injuries happen, and performance is not always there.
Yeah,
I agree. Don't you feel like a lot of times? I think Gilbert Burns said it when he fought Dan Hooker. Like he said, or Dan Hooker said it. He's like, I fought half of Gilbert Burns. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because of the weight cut at lightweight.
A
lot of these guys they leave it all on the weight cut.
Yeah, I'm like literally crawling to my weigh-ins. At welterweight at 170. Because I walk around at least 205 or 200 at that time, I was like literally crawling towards to the weigh-ins, dying, It's like then you can't really fight like who you are. You know, I get hit by heavyweight and I'm okay, and then all of a sudden I get hit by a welterweight and I get like dropped to my butt. It's like it doesn't make sense. So if it takes away from the fighter that you are, don't cut that much weight.
100%.
Yeah, I agree, man. I fought a bantamweight once, and I had like a real tough weight cut. And like, yeah, the first punch of the fight, the guy hit me with a jab, and I was like, in my head, I was like, what the hell was that? You know,
Yeah.
like you can feel it all go through my brain, like
Literally.
you know.
Literally.
Where, like you said, you train with welterweights, you can train with heavyweights all the time.
Yeah.
In training, when you're fully hydrated, and it's just such a difference.
And you get
in
hit with
performance.
heavyweights and nothing happens, and then all of a sudden at welterweight, you get dropped and shut your lights off. You know, it's like crazy.
Yeah. Do you guys think that's why ONE FC, like One Championship, has such exciting fights because because they take away the weight cutting? These fights are like so action packed from beginning to end. There's not a lot of gassing out. Have you noticed? Have you
Yeah,
noticed
it's
this?
definitely like it takes the burden of making weight. It's still, I mean, you still somewhat have to make weight, but you're not cutting, and like you have these guys that are like, you know,
You're not
American-
dehydrated.
not dehydrated, but these
Yeah.
American wrestlers have been doing it their whole lives,
Yep.
and it's not like a system they can cheat. It's
You'll never see in one championship when a person's walking to the weigh-ins, you know, dying. Like you'll never see that anymore, you know, because of the hydration. You have to be hydrated. It's like in the other promotions where people are like dying and like falling over at the weigh-ins, you know.
literally.
Yeah, for sure. You can see when a guy has a rough weight cut on the weigh-ins, and you're like, oh, this. You can see them when they
Yeah.
like you guys look like they're on death's door showing up to some of these weigh-ins, you know.
Yeah.
And that's when I feel like the biggest knockouts happen. And I think, do you feel like that's what was your advantage was when you fought Edward Folion, that you were in there like going up a weight class? You felt like you can put more power, so then you felt like maybe he was doing the opposite. He was cutting a lot of weight, and then you were going in there going up.
Nah, I was delusional, dude. I thought like, because I had to do like a press run with Edward, and I went to the Philippines, and we sized each other up, and we were good mates, and we're still talking to each other and all that. But when I faced off against him, I was like, oh man, I'm the same size as this guy. Height wise, I was a bit taller than him, but when I rewatched that fight, I was literally so delusional. Like it was black and white. You can tell that we were different weight classes. At the end of that fight, ONE Championship, they weigh you, and I was 71.5 kilos, around that, and Edward Folayang was 79 kilos. He told me he was 79 after the fight.
So
And I was
16
like,
pounds difference.
yeah, man. I was like, in my head, I was so delusional. I thought like, you know, I'm same size. If not, I'm a bit bigger than him. But when I rewatched the fight, I'm like, oh man. Lucky it went that way.
but good thing.
What
right?
round?
Yeah.
What round was that? What round was that?
That was the second round.
It was the second round.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man. It's not like, but it wasn't like you were feeling the weight the whole. I mean, it's not like you weren't feeling the weight in the first round, right?
Dude, I went
Or-
to the weigh-ins. I had my backpack on. I had my trackies on. We were about to like, because fight week, I didn't really, I don't like to really hang out in the hotels. I like to just venture out and get my mind off the fight. And so we were ready to go out and have lunch and just travel around Manila. And so I'd go to weigh-ins. I'd just jump on the scales and I'd leave. And I had my backpack on, and the staff were like, dude, can you take your backpack off at least? Like, I just had shoes on and everything, and all these guys are getting almost butt naked to try and make weight. And I was just like, man, I'm going up a weight class. I don't really care. Yeah, I had no problems with that.
This episode of the Honey Badger Hour podcast is brought to you by the Original Clippers Barbershop, located on 14227 South Dixie Highway. Make an appointment today. You can find them on the Booksy booking app or call 305-964-7882. More than 20 plus years in the game, and that's the Original Clippers Barbershop. Master barbers for a master fighter. Yeah, that's one. And for online, what about for 205? For 205 in ONE FC, that would be. Do you have a
220?
cutoff?
Yeah,
or
yeah, 220.
220. Oh, so you got that's for both you guys. When you went up, that's a huge difference from
It
your.
is,
Well, you
yeah.
have two big. Oh my God, he got a 20-pound gap. You had a 15.
Yeah.
So welterweight, you can weigh up to. So you were weighing 205 for your middleweight fights.
So middleweight is 205 hydrated, right? And then the light heavyweight is 225
Wow.
hydrated.
That's
know?
crazy.
And like naturally, I walk around 225, but if I'm in fight shape, I'm about 215, 216. When I'm in like good shape, when I have like 2 packs,
When you got 2 pack.
when I have 2 or 4 packs, We're not naturally gifted like some of you guys.
Yeah.
you know.
Tupac Anglong's a dangerous man.
Yeah, you see two abs, you're in trouble. I'm in tremendous shape.
Oh, wow.
100%.
Hey, when you're fighting in a main event in Myanmar in front of your hometown crowd like that, and the place is rocking, is it like an extra teammate, and is it an extra person? Is it like an extra? Is it? Do you feel the pressure for you, or do you feel like, oh man, I cannot let these guys down?
Imagine this, right? Imagine this. You know, the whole stadium wants you to win, right? So you go in the stadium, you go to the bathroom to pee, and the security is like trying to take a selfie with you. And saying, man, you're gonna win this, okay? You gotta win this,
You
okay?
must win.
You must win. Whatever you do, you must win, okay? So it is a little pressure. You just have to know how to control that pressure, and make sure you focus on the thing, the task at hand, which is to get the win. However way it happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a lot of pressure. Like honestly, I'm gonna tell you, it's a lot of pressure. You riding to the bus, you're in the bus, like everybody wants you to win. So it is pressure. It's a lot of pressure. The whole country wants you to win. I can't it's like, does it boost me up? Like when I'm hitting and when I'm throwing these shots and I hear the cheer, yeah, a little bit. But prior to that, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, right. Backstage and stuff too.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
Backstage before, when they're doing, when they're wrapping your hands, when they're doing the medicals, when how there's like they bring in the VIPs, right? And they take pictures with you and stuff like that. And all these VIP guys are like, oh, you gotta win, okay?
yeah, and they don't have nothing
Yeah,
about. Isn't
yeah.
it crazy that when people are so confident in you, and you're just like,
Yeah.
I'm not even that confident in
Yeah,
myself. You got this, dog. I know it. I was like,
Hey,
you
you
sure,
must
bro?
win, bro. You must win.
It's a fist fight. Yeah, but I mean, but I luckily for me, I've never lost in my country. When I fought in Myanmar, I've never lost. So I guess you could also say that it's motivation. It made me focus a lot more. It made me be super hyper focused. And when I do get into bad position, it makes me like, oh, I can't.
More alert.
Yeah, that's what I'm
more
saying. So
alert,
that's where I feel like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
an extra weapon. So maybe like before, it's like, oh,
before,
snap.
yeah,
But once
yeah.
you're in there, it's
Yeah,
definitely
yeah,
probably like,
for sure.
Yeah, I fought on the road a lot, and I feel like that's been one of my like Achilles heels is like kind of like fighting on the road and just like sometimes letting the crowd or like
Yeah.
like
Always being the underdog, right?
yeah. So but sometimes you can let it get to you a little bit. I don't know. Maybe that's been like my mental lapses.
Yeah. Like I've never fully understand that, right? But I know when I fought in Philly against the Philly guys, I do get that energy, and then also when I was cornering Sato Takashi, the Japanese fighter, against Gunnar Nelson in London, as we were walking out, there were like 4 or 5 guys in Gunnar Nelson mask doing this.
Oh, Sato, damn.
Yeah.
Come on, man. This guy.
For me, that would get me more fired up, man. For me,
That would make
for
me want to be like, yo, yeah, I'm
For
gonna
me,
show
that-
you.
Yeah, for me, that would get me fired up. I'm gonna knock him out and I'm gonna rip that face mask off your face.
On the way out,
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
well,
literally.
those same guys that after you knock him out, then they're gonna be like, yo, let me get a photo with you.
Yeah,
You know,
100%,
they're gonna be
100%.
like, hey, I remember you.
Hey, man, I remember that shit. You had that mask on.
Yeah. Man, how good is it, guys? Look, we're all here in Florida right now. I'm from Miami, just an hour away, but it wasn't like this just a couple years ago. We were talking about it before dinner, right? How good is it that we're past the pandemic era of fighting?
Are we done? Are we done?
I don't know. I hope so. Knock on wood, Yeah. Like we were talking about Martin. All right, so Anlang, you had it good. You fought, and then you came back to Florida. You were all right.
Yeah,
but you
yeah,
had to
Living
do
a good life, man.
Oh, so you had to do the quarantine. How many times you had to do
So I
quarantine?
did 5 quarantines in my little
Yeah.
lifetime during the pandemic. It was obviously coming back to Australia. Australia was strict as well, but the one that that really broke me was having to. I had to quarantine in Singapore, which I wasn't even. I was within close vicinity of someone sitting like 3 chairs behind me. He got COVID, and so the fight had already pulled out. Pulled out a month before. Was it?
Yeah.
No, 12 days before.
Yeah.
And then I had to come back to Florida,
Yeah.
and then go and fight that guy again, and then find out that someone 3 seats behind me caught COVID, and I had to go into quarantine.
Granted, you were vaccinated at that time
Yeah,
already.
and I was vaccinated.
Yeah.
So I had to do 2 weeks in Singapore, my coach and I. And then when we left Singapore, they kicked us straight away out. We had to go back to Australia and do another 2 weeks there. And that one really broke me. So I said, man, I ain't fighting no more during these times.
No more, huh? That's
Yeah.
it. Like you
And then I was like, obviously, I gotta do it. I gotta put food on the table and support my family by any means possible. So I went back to Florida and then fought the guy just to get a paycheck, man. And you can't fight like that, dude. Like it just happens, and you get knocked out,
Your
and
mind's not right.
yeah, your mind's not right, bro. And then it happened to me.
I think we've all had to. Yeah, that's kind of like when I took my fight. Same thing, you know. Like, you don't want to pull out, you know, and you got to get that check, you know. So it's like the fighter life, right? Like you gotta.
You put so much, and you've invested so much, and so many people has invested so much in you as well, and you can't really let them down. And you know the reason why we're doing this obviously is to be the best person we can be, but also get paid at the same time.
Yeah.
And so
like in my so I have 19 fights and 1 championship. Like
19.
like in that 19 fight, I've never pulled out one single fight or not signed a fight about agreement. And there were multiple occasions when I was either really injured or like I'm telling like there's one fight when I fought in Myanmar like where I hurt my back during a wrestling practice and I was like I needed like an epidural shot, like a cortisone shot in my back, in order for me to fly to Myanmar. Like I couldn't even jog on the treadmill. That's how bad it was. It was so bad. but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get a cortisone shot. I'm gonna, I'm gonna upgrade my seat to economy plus.
To get some leg
that
space.
leg
man,
space, so
100%.
I can lay, and I'm gonna fight this fight. So, I mean, like that's what I'm saying. Like fighters are crazy, man. We go through these moments where it's like we know it's not. Probably shouldn't take that fight. If I was managing myself, I was like, no, you're out of this fight, right? But as a fighter, we don't do that. We can't do that. We keep fighting in those fights.
in the most stupidest times too, we just do it.
Sometimes it works out, and then sometimes it's like, oh man.
I think that's what it is too. Like we're gamblers too, you know. So like when it works out, you're like, yo,
I did it.
and then you think you can do it all the time. And if it works out once, you're just gonna always be riding on that time. Like, well, that one time, you know. That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And then, man, so you were born in Myanmar,
Yep.
and then you moved here when you were like a little bit older.
Yep. 2003. I was 18 then, and I moved here for college for higher education. I just turned 18. The following month. I went to school in Michigan. Worked at a dairy farm. Worked for 4 years at a dairy farm, and then after college, I worked as a beekeeper. For almost 2 years in the other side of Florida, in Felder, Fort Myers area.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I was like, at that point, I was already fighting. I was like, I better do this fighting thing or not. Not ever dream about it. At that time, I was probably like 12-4 or something like that.
Oh, you were already fighting.
Yeah, I was already fighting and
Oh
competing,
wow!
yeah.
And you were working and
Yeah.
going to school when you
Yeah,
were
yeah.
fighting. 12-4. That's a legit.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a good
Yeah.
ass. That's UFC
Yeah.
record right there.
And I was like, man, if I want to, and at that point, I just beat a guy that came, out of, that just fought in the UFC, Chris Price, and I finished him in the first round. So I was like, man, I better do this, or because I'm getting older. At that time, I was like, what, 20, 22, 22, 23. I was like, man, I'm getting old, man. I'm getting old. I'm 23. I better do this and, never dream about it. And then I was like, man, I love this so much. So I, stopped and I just went, work for the gym and started training at the gym. And then, but struggle a lot though. Struggle for the next 10 years, struggle hard. But then, finally got in my zone in one championship.
Yeah. How did you get the
2016.
contract for one?
They offered me a contract in 2013, right? And I fought my first fight in 2014 in Jakarta in Indonesia, right? And at that time I was I just had my green card and I was in a travel document. I didn't have a passport. I had a travel document and I wasn't able to I was stopped at immigrations and they weren't gonna let me through. So I got there at night and I didn't get out until the morning, and I think they kind of bribed, the Indonesian
Jakarta,
officials.
yeah.
Indonesian officials to let me fight, and that was so. In 2003, I left Myanmar. 2014 was when I fought in Jakarta, and that was the first time I saw my dad.
Wow.
Yeah, in that 11-year
In
period.
Jakarta.
Yeah, in Jakarta.
Your dad was living over there,
yeah.
or
No, he came to see me, you know, because
Oh,
he can't travel to the States. Yeah.
Oh yeah, from
Yeah,
Myanmar.
yeah,
It's not
yeah.
too bad.
Yeah, and so like that was the first time I saw him, and that was like he was cornering me, and so he's been with me every single fight after
Every single
that,
fight, yeah.
except the last one in Colorado, you know.
Oh, because he still can't get him to the States, huh?
no. So
And he still lives in Burma now.
he still lives in Myanmar. Yeah,
He's in and out, right? He's in and out.
yeah. But I mean, you can travel like in the other Southeast Asian countries, you know.
It's not bad,
problem.
right?
Yeah, it's not a problem. But that's another story. That's another story.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
man.
But after that, in 2014, I fought my fight, and then, man, you know, as fighters, we don't make much money at all, right? And I was 30, I think. I was 30 years old, and I was like, man, I got married, I have a kid on the way, and I don't have a passport to travel overseas to fight. So I almost retired. And from 2015, after the fight, to 2015, at the end of 2015, I was like, man, I think I'm done fighting. So I almost retired then, you know. I was like, I'm too old, you know. I'm 31 years old. I need to think about my family, my kids. And then the door opened, you know. God opened the door for me, and I fought in Myanmar, and everything worked out. Myanmar at that time was open, you know, and everything was going well. 2016 and then 2017, I became the champion, you know.
That's when you
It's
won
crazy.
your title, right?
Yeah, and I lost the first shot too, you know, against
Vitaly.
Vitaly. Yeah, I fought him on a 10
Didn't you
days
I was gonna
notice.
say, didn't you fight Vitaly on short notice?
Yeah,
But then
yeah.
you had like a really great fight, and then
No, but on that fight, he was supposed to fight another guy, right?
Marcin Prachnio.
Yeah, Marcin Prachnio, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's fighting tonight actually.
Oh, he's?
I think so, in the UFC. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
But anyways, he was supposed to fight, and I was like, man, this is not fair. I had you know, four good wins here. How come I don't get the title shot? You know, and whatever. But 10 days notice, they gave me this title shot, but I put it on the contract that if I were to lose, I get a rematch with him in Myanmar next year.
because of short
Yeah,
notice.
yeah. But
Nice.
they were very hesitant to give me that, you know.
Mm.
And so I got it, and then
He was already the champion.
who?
Vitaly.
Yeah, he was the
He was the
champion.
champ
He was
already, right?
defending
Yeah,
champion.
yeah, defending
Igor-
champ.
Yeah, he was.
Igor-
He beat Igor, that guy.
Yeah,
Igor.
Spirich or whatever it is.
But
That's
that's a
right.
crazy story too. Like for the second, after I lost the first fight, I was like, man, this guy is so strong. I've never felt any like, even heavyweights that strong. Like he was so physically strong, right? And I was like, I was scared for my life for the second fight. You know, I would eat like I would make protein shakes, and I would put chicken, you know, boiled chicken in it, and I would drink that. Because I would do extreme stuff, you know, just to get more protein in my body to be strong, you know.
Yeah.
So I was, man, that guy was so strong, like unnaturally strong, you know.
Yeah, a little bit.
I remember that part. At that time as well, because that's when I first met Angla.
Yeah.
I was fighting in the co-main event against Yokota.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was fighting in the co-main event against Yokota, and
Okay.
that was when I met when the bus came and got us.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was sitting by himself, and I went and I just sat down next to him. I spoke to him, and then from there it kicked off. And then the next day, I won my fight. I knocked out Yokota, and I was like, oh man, there's a nice hotel next to us. Why didn't they put us in that? It was like they put us, I think, in like the Nam Hotel in
Yeah,
Jakarta,
yeah.
which was like
It was
a
bad.
motel, literally like so bad. And then right next door was a Grand Mercure, and I was like, oh, let's go have lunch over there. So I went over there with my coach at the time. We had lunch, and I see Angla walking through because I didn't stay for his fight. I just left. I see Angla walking through with his 2 corner men. I was like, damn, that guy's beat up pretty bad. But his dad was staying in that same hotel, was meeting up with his dad, and I looked at him, I was like, oh man, you're gonna get this back. And in my head, I was like, that is pretty bad.
he must know how. He must not know how to
yeah.
defend himself. He must not
Yeah.
know how to fight.
I was like, man,
must
that
not
is,
know how to
oh man, that eye looks so bad. I don't know how you can see out of that, but yeah. And then from there, he got his second shot, and then he won the title. That was pretty cool. It was
I
pretty
won the title
inspirational.
before you, right?
You did, yeah.
Oh wow. So then, you guys, that's when you guys met. When did you guys start linking up and training together? Because you've been cornering each other for a few fights now, right? I've been seeing you guys-
2018, right?
So Angla came to Australia with his family at the end of 2018.
Yeah.
At the end of 2018, and that was where the time where I was like,
because I watched his fight. I watched his fight when I was in Gachin State, and I watched his fight. I said, man, he should have won that fight. You know, I was like,
Which one? Which one?
I think it was Bellingon. I lost to Bellingon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
yeah.
So on paper, I was like, oh man, I got this fight. But
Yeah.
obviously, it got pieced up and in his hometown, and he dominated the fight all the way through. And then yesterday, when Angla messaged as well. Was that the Bellingon fight or no, the Bibiano fight?
Bibiana fight.
Bibiana
you got
fight,
you
yeah.
got dropped in the fifth.
In the last round,
the
yeah, in the
fifth
last
yeah,
round.
he should have won that fight.
Yeah. I think that's what swayed the judges to
Yeah.
obviously pick Bibiano in that fight.
But
But
I was like,
major
man,
type fight.
Yeah, you need better training environment, you know. And I was like, man, I suggested him, to come train here.
And you
in
were already
Florida.
here working with the boys because you had
Yeah.
Hoof in your corner when
Yeah,
you won
yeah.
the title. What, did you win your corner when you won your title? Was Hoof in your corner for the
Yeah,
first title?
No, for the second title.
For the second title.
For the light
it was
heavyweight.
no, it was the Ingolani fight, right? The David
No,
versus Goliath fight.
after Galani fight, I was like, I can't train here, and expect because I had a hard time against Galani,
Yeah.
and I was like, man, I can't train here. I'm never gonna keep this belt, and that's why I moved camps. You know, even though I won the Galani fights, I was like, man, like skill set wise, I still have a lot to improve. You know, so.
And so yeah, he came to Australia. He was in Myanmar at the time, and I was speaking to him, and then he just came to Australia, and I was like, oh, mad, you can come to Australia, and then I hosted him, went around, we did our thing, and then
Ate some kangaroos.
yeah,
You guys get some kangaroos?
yeah,
What
just
What
showed
part
it.
of Australia you're from? You're from
I'm from Western Sydney.
Western Sydney.
Yeah,
That's where everybody
Western
seems to be from, right? Like Ty Tavasta's from there.
All the rough guys.
Oh, yeah, that's where all the gamers are gonna be like,
all the
Western
rough
Sydney,
guys.
they throwing it up,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, I don't represent it like that, but I'm proud of where I came from. So yeah, I showed Angla where I'm from and where we lived, and we hung out for 5 days, 4 or 5 days, and then from there, at the end of the last day, almost, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna book it. I booked the ticket, and that was it. I came over. It was at the early January 2019. It was like past New Year's, and then I came over.
Yeah, and then
And
he
then
slept
started-
downstairs in the house that we had
Yeah.
in Fort Lauderdale.
Nice, man. So you guys been training together ever since?
Since
Yeah.
2013.
Been making some
2019,
magic
yeah,
too, you
man.
know? Oh, so then the COVID
Yeah.
happened when you guys, where were you guys at during the pandemic?
Here,
Yeah,
You
we
were
still,
here?
Yeah, because Florida was still
Yeah, we're
relatively
here.
normal.
Yeah.
It was hard for me to get out of Australia. You had to apply for like exemptions and all that, and so I did all that. I got through the hoops, and I have like people in Parliament that kind of vouched for me as well, and so they helped me get the exemption to leave Australia, which was I was able to come back over here. And I think during that pandemic time, I think that one time a year, I was 6 months of the year I was here,
Nice.
training and going in and out for fights, and just a long time away from my family, and that kind of got to me as well.
I bet. Did you notice like all your friends locked down in Australia and all your teammates kind of like struggling when you were here training? Was it kind of crazy? Like,
Yeah,
yo.
man. Like we couldn't do anything. They couldn't do anything. Everyone was on the rise, and they just come off win streaks or whatever. And then out of nowhere, like literally the whole country just shut down, and we couldn't do anything. And I was like, I need to get better. I'm not good enough yet. And so at the time, I had my titles, and I was like, I need to get better. I need to do something. Obviously, I came over. That was the first step, and I defended my title twice in that time. Jadamba and Mashishima.
Was that the flying knee? That was
Yeah,
that was a great night.
Yeah.
That
And so
Machine fight was a
I
crazy
was like,
fight, bro.
I needed to just keep the ball rolling and keep it going. And if I had stopped because of the pandemic, then I felt like I was just gonna go backwards. And so we just jumped through hoops and went back and forth in Florida. Yeah.
Wow, man. And so then, ever since then, back and forth. When you were training, would you help Volkanovski, right? You were doing like a little bit of you guys went over there for,
Yeah, so-
didn't you help him at one of his champ camps when everything was locked down and stuff?
I went there twice, just for sparring. He had he had already flown a bunch of fighters in, and just to get that little extra sparring, I helped him for, I think it was a Holloway fight.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the
man.
Holloway fight, the second Holloway fight.
Yeah.
And I just I went down there, did my sparring with him. Great guy, man. Another level. His mentality wise, the way he speaks and the way he approaches training is just another level as well. So
Yeah, it was probably good for
Yeah.
you to like to
Definitely,
grow, to
man.
help each other grow. You know, two
100%.
champions in two different leagues. You know what I'm saying?
100% representing Australia, man.
Oh
is
my
very-
gosh, I never thought about that, bro.
Both of us were champs at the time as well, and so it was an honor just to meet him and work with him from there. Super strong guy. I'm sure you rolled with him.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, animal.
I'm sure he's grabbed you and
Oh my gosh, more than I would like to admit. Hey, but how crazy is it, right? Like the rise of Australian MMA, how you guys have like gotten so good. It's kind of incredible how you've gotten so
man.
good so fast, right? Like
the whole
from
the
very
whole of
beginning.
Oceania, yeah. Like
Oh,
it's just
Oceania, yeah.
yeah.
It's,
It's like people think that you got to leave the country to get better and all that. And all in all, we do have a good set of skill sets of coaches at home. Just the only thing you have to travel around for it. So grappling wise, you can go to this gym, and striking wise, you can go to that gym, and mixing it all together, you go to this gym, and it's just too much traveling and your gym hopping and all that. And so, why I called Florida home was I just felt welcome. The training partners were here every day, so you didn't have to. I understand people have to work at home to support the jobs and rents and all that, and not everyone's going to be there. Even to this day, not everyone's going to be there at every single training session, and like what it is here in Florida. You know, the moment you're here in Florida, you walk through those doors, you see the same face for the next 6 days, day in, day out, 2 times a day. And it's the same guys that have the same dream as you and have the same motivation and drive as you to get better, and, you know, they have to provide for themselves and, you know, want to make it big time. And so coming to Florida was my thing. I thankfully have Ung and his wife that accepted me and helped me throughout the whole process, and, you know, allowed me to stay at their place and, you know, get better.
Yeah, man. So you've seen the rise of Australian MMA. Angla, you've seen the rise of MMA in general. When did you started training in 2003? When did you start training? I was in high school.
2004, yeah.
2004. What was the
Yeah.
game like? And you were in America, right? What was it
Yeah.
like? Oh my gosh.
It's an ever evolving sport, you know. Like even now, it's still evolving. Like the Dagestani wrestling is not where it is now because everybody's kind of caught on to it. Just like when I first came on the scene, you are a purple belt, you're gonna be good. You're gonna be good. You're gonna be winning fights. You know?
Tackle and grapple.
Yeah.
Then it became like an American
Yeah.
wrestling type of thing,
And
Matt
then
Hughes
American-
and
yeah.
all that. And then it became a jiu-jitsu era.
And then the kickboxing era, defensive takedowns, knock people out. It's like it's an ever evolving sport. Even now, it's still evolving. You know? Even till today, it's evolving.
Yeah, the
No.
submissions are changing now.
Yes.
Even the wrestling, bro. People aren't really. You can't really win a. It's hard to win a
No.
fight just taking a guy down. right now.
100%. People
Like,
know how to
who-
get up from the cage now. People know
Yeah.
how to fight those locks. People know how to like. You cannot win a fight nowadays. You cannot win a fight from the closed guard. You know.
Boom.
I mean, it's always evolving. Like the Dagestani style, very dominant. You know, before, but it's gonna get shut down very soon.
Someo's going to figure out the system.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
go
No,
from
they're already.
I
They're
think
Yeah,
Volk,
already.
Volk
kind of
Yeah.
figured out.
Yeah.
Volk kind of
Yeah.
figured out with Makachev. You
Yeah.
know, like you seen Craig Jones. He put a video. I think Craig Jones released a DVD like Dagestan or something wrestling. Like he made a,
Yeah.
he made a DVD just on like getting up. You know, for
Yeah.
like that after
Yeah.
that fight.
So if you think you're so good, then like you're gonna get left behind. That if you don't, you know, continue to evolve and get better and keep sharpening your tools, you know, for sure. I have some tools, like you have some tools, but we also have, we all have our weaknesses as well, you know. And then you have to close those holes, and you have to keep improving and evolving. As you stay in this sport, you gotta keep evolving, or else you're gonna get left behind. That's for sure, you know.
Yeah, I have a theory on the why Australian wrestling, like why Australians got so good so fast compared to like maybe like your generation where you were just saying, right? Like with the closed guard, you realize
Yeah.
now we don't even really need closed guard, right?
No.
But you probably spent your first 5 years
For
training,
sure, for sure,
living in the
for
closed.
sure.
All your jiu-jitsu
For
probably
sure,
came from the
for
closed
sure.
guard, where maybe by the
100%.
time
For
it
sure.
got to the Australian boys, you're like, okay.
Yeah.
I feel like that's why Volk and some of these guys are so
Yeah.
good at wrestling. They kind of took
Yeah.
out. We learned a lot of college wrestling first
Yeah.
from wrestlers, you know.
For sure, and also understand this, right? Right now, you go to these big camps, right? These big camps, but eventually it's going to be like this, right? When my son is fighting, or when Tio's son is fighting, I'm going to be his head coach. It's going to be a small camp. We're going to have the other guys work around him. You know, the camps are going to be. It's gonna. I believe it's going to become more like boxing as well. You know, so I really believe that this sport is going to evolve. There's a lot of good things about big camps, especially like at Kill Cliff. We're so united. We all have the same mindset, same goal, and not very few of us are very we're pretty selfless. You know, we're very giving towards our teammates. You know, and that should be the motto of most big camps, right? But it's not always the case. There's always one selfish guy, one guy who thinks they're the diva, who thinks then it doesn't work, right? But in boxing, if you look at Canelo's camp, it's all revolved around Canelo. You know, so there's gonna come a time when, like, let's just say Ethan, for an example, if he becomes a fighter, right? This is Teal's kid who wants to be a fighter. His camp is gonna be evolved around him. Like, I'm gonna get my son and his brothers to simulate, some style. We're gonna pay somebody to simulate this guy's style. It's an evolving sport. That's what I'm saying. Where I am now, you're comparing me with these guys from Australia. Now you compare my son's generation, it's gonna be a whole different, ball game. So we're gonna stay in the sport. That's why we gotta stay in the sport.
You made it.
It's an ever evolving sport.
Yeah, you made a good thing. So like first, like we're like in the era now. Yeah, it's funny how you say that, right? Because like when I first started training, I picked jiu-jitsu as my base.
Yeah, because
I did it backwards. Yeah, I did it backward. Now I realize I should have did my striking really, really good and just lose by submissions. Because then if you know what I mean, then we don't get knocked the fuck out. You know what I'm saying? But at the time, all the champions were like Matt Hughes, GSP. So I was like, oh, you got to wrestle. Yeah. But now, if I started training, I would probably become like a striker first because we're kind of in the striker era. With the hizzies and the sprawl and brawl.
I would wrestle first. If I had the best component, I would wrestle first, kickbox, and then at the end, jiu-jitsu.
I agree.
Yeah, I started off jiu-jitsu first.
Because as a kid, you don't take damage.
That's
as a wrestler. And it toughens your body, right? It toughens your body. It toughens your balance, body awareness. You need all those for striking too.
Yeah, work ethic too.
Work ethic.
Yeah, I started off in jiu-jitsu and I haven't really showed it in any of my fights, but I think in between the areas of learning jiu-jitsu because of the Gracies and your BJ Penns and all that, to your striking era now. Like for me, everyone thinks I'm a striker, and which I do focus a lot on my striking now. But I naturally came from a jiu-jitsu background, and it's something that's like underrated.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm very similar to him too. I started with jiu-jitsu first.
You started with the Lord Irvin team, right? In Maryland back in the day.
Carson Gracie.
Oh snap!
Carson Gracie, the old Carson Gracie, is the one that gave me 2 stripes on my white belt.
Oh, there you go. I'm a Carson Gracie 2-stripe white belt.
I can show you a picture of that. I always do that. But anyways, like and then but I like to get punch, and I like to punch, and I like to kick, and then that's what but I'm not super athletic, like I don't depend on my athleticism. I depend on my toughness and my my mind. So like for me, when I worked with Henry, it was perfect. Like his style worked really well with me, and Greg Jones is very good at wrestling. His wrestling helped my wrestling a lot. And so like, if I could build the perfect fighter, I would start them off with wrestling, because wrestling, you don't take any brain damage. You have good body awareness. You're strong physically. You're gonna be strong. There's no wrestler that's not physically strong.
100%.
Yeah.
Right. And then you're gonna be able to, after that, you're gonna have good foundation in wrestling. Then you can add in striking. You can add in submission.
I agree. And whatever you want to be, whether you want to be a striker or you want to be whether you want to be a ground guy or a striker, you need to wrestle. Yeah. Because you either need to be able to not get taken down, or you need to be able to get the fight down. Yeah. Which a lot of jiu-jitsu guys get caught, right? We do a lot of jiu-jitsu, and then you're like, oh, and then the fight starts on the feet. You're like, what's going on here? What is this?
Stop butt scooting in Minari rolling.
Yeah, man.
And also, like, there's another element too, like the cage, right? The cage element. It's like such a big element in the sport now, And before, remember when Tito Ortiz would used to just put people against the cage and elbow them? Now everybody gets up off the cage. Like, use the cage to get up. Use the cage to defend takedowns.
Before it used to pin you there.
Yeah. Oh, you can't get out. You can't go anywhere now.
Now some guys, if you know, like Khabib, like he'll get sometimes to get takedowns in the middle. Now guys will be harder to get up because some guys are so good they gotta take their butt all the way to the cage.
Scoot all the way to the cage to get up. Yeah.
I think I saw that recently in a fight, or it was an amateur fight. I don't know. So somebody got taken out. They just butt scoot to the cage real quick, and then
even last night, like when Logan fought, right? He was the Bellator main event, right? You see him; he's against a cage, right? So he's a D1 All-American, like four-time All-American.
NCAA.
Right? Yeah, NCAA.
Yeah.
4-time All-American. And he, when he was in 8th grade, he won the state championship at 8th grade against high schoolers. Think about it. A 13-year-old beating 18, 17-year-old guys, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah, but his grappling, his wrestling is phenomenal, right? Mm-hmm. Last night when he fought, he had his back against the cage. So when he shot, the shots were in the open. You know.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
yeah. So
strategically, yeah,
he did, like he
strategically,
did it
yeah.
on purpose, right?
Yeah, yeah. He didn't do it the other way around. Where
Yes.
the guy
Where the guy can use the cage. Yeah.
And he was so slick with those
that's
takedowns.
smart.
Yeah.
Boom, I got
Yeah.
you. Yes, yeah, yeah.
And his
yeah.
scrambling is like another level too. So
Yeah.
it wouldn't just be like shoot, the guy stuffs it, and
Yeah.
let's restart. It'll be
He
like
would
another one and another one.
he
and
would
another
have
one.
a much harder time if the guy was on the cage.
Yes,
Mhm.
got you.
He's
Yeah,
shooting
'cause
on
he
the
would just
cage.
use the cage to
Yeah,
stay
yeah,
up, and
yeah.
people can just.
Yeah.
Because we'll do rounds in wrestling. Some
Yeah.
wrestling days we just do wall. We don't even do wrestling from the feet.
that's
you
very
know?
important now. You know,
Right?
that's very important.
It's a whole nother martial art too.
It's a
There's
whole
ways to
martial art.
finish too,
Yeah.
like double legs and single legs.
And,
you know.
and there's one more element that we're forgetting, like what we're forgetting, and I know that it's gonna get big soon. It's like the elbow strike, the knee strikes from against the cage. We haven't seen much of that, but that's a big game changer. You know, we don't. How often do we spar with elbow pads? How often do we spar with knee pads?
Nailed it.
Rarely, right? So only like 2 fights ago, 2 fights ago, when I fought the Machado guy, right? No, not Machado.
Cabal.
Caval, right?
Cabal.
Yeah.
That elbow was so
Yeah, it's
small.
short,
too.
short, and
Split him open. It was all bloody up.
Doesn't take much.
Doesn't
My
take much at
coach.
all.
Yeah, George Hickman used to always say that wrestling. You're always throwing up like
Yeah.
short, street elbows. You know.
Yeah.
You're right, and you know what it is when we're sparring, we don't.
Yeah.
You do what you do in sparring, but we
Yeah.
don't throw elbows and
Yeah.
knees. But that's why the Muay Thai fighters are so dangerous
so
when they move
good.
that way.
And also like the jiu-jitsu position, close guard, right? Those are perfect time to throw elbows.
All day.
No. When you're on the bottom. When you're on the bottom.
yeah, and
Right?
yeah, like in close guard, yeah.
Yeah, like these things. Like it's this sport is gonna evolve. It's a beautiful thing too. That's why I love this sport. You know, as much as heartaches there are and all that stuff, it's a fun like world. You know, it's a fun sport. That's why I enjoy it so much. And now you know, like it's like I promise when I fight again, I'm gonna be a lot better fighter. Like more fight IQ, more weapons and more elements to it. You know.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. And like that's the good thing about this sport. And like we were saying before, we'll wrap it. Well, that's what we were saying before. You know, like the game is like the 30s is like the new 20s. Like we're
Yeah.
all now in our mid 30s, but we're all saying like I was saying like I don't know, I don't got it. And you guys are looking at me like, what do you mean, bro? We're still going. Like, all right, guys, man, I'm gonna have to keep going, bro. I'm gonna have to pick it back up.
No,
you know?
but it's like I mean, there's always time and place and time for everything. You know, like I know for a fact I'm not gonna fight forever. You know, I know for a fact that Martin's not gonna fight forever too. His time and my time's gonna be different. Just like your time and my time is different. You know.
Yeah, for
When
sure.
did you start fighting?
2009.
2009, right? Like, and when did you start fighting?
Don't even know, but when I was 21 years old, gotta go back.
That's when I started 21 too.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's like everybody has different timelines, you know. And it's like you have to understand that, and you have to be okay with it, you know.
Yeah.
I know I don't have too many. Like I can count in my hands how many more fights I have left, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got a new visitor on the podcast.
Can you hold this for a second?
Yeah, I got you. No, yeah, definitely, man. That's the thing with the timelines, you know, like everybody's story is different. I mean, you can peak at different times, right? Like
100%. But we were chatting about this before. Like the times have changed, where you know people at the start of the whole sport, everyone used to kind of starve themselves, and there was no nutrition there, and they wouldn't eat for a week just to make weight. Now it's all about just dieting, and you got professionals that like
Chefs.
chefs. You're eating. Who would have thought like you're eating 7 meals a day and you're gonna make weight?
Yep.
Yeah.
Where back in the day you have
Starve
one piece
ourselves.
of bread and you're like, oh my god, I need to run 10Ks.
Yeah, and you know, lately, right? Lately, I would warm up before everybody warm up. Because I'm older, my engine takes a little bit longer to warm up. But a fight is only 15 minutes. It's only 15 minutes.
it's true.
I can go 15 minutes.
You got 15 minutes in you no matter what.
Yes,
You can
no
do
matter
anything
what.
for 15 minutes,
Yeah,
you know?
at 38, I can easily do that, you know?
Yeah, for sure, man.
So
Times
it's like-
times have definitely changed, man.
And the point of view has changed too. The viewpoints have changed, you know? We can't be stuck in our old ways, you know? That being said, of course, we have to really focus on recovery now as we get older, you know? And if we have to take some nights off, we'll take some nights off.
Yeah, definitely,
No.
man, for sure.
So.
But yo, we'll finish off with this, guys. We'll wrap it up real quick. I know this is like one of the going things I always ask before, like in the pod, like one of the main things I always ask everybody. Can you teach heart? What's your opinions on can you teach heart? Whoever wants to go first. What do you guys think?
I'll go first. I think you can't teach heart. It has to always come within. You either have it or you don't have it. You're gonna have to want it, or are you just doing it for like the accolades of saying I'm a fighter or I've been. I mean, in an MMA perspective, for heart, you have to want it. You have to want to do this. You have to want to be able to take on the good and the bad, and that kind of builds character as well. But you know, and that there will build on after fighting as well, about heart and all that. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, you're gonna have to want it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I think as long as you want it, the heart is probably still there, right?
100%.
But once you just don't want it anymore, that's when the heart starts to fade away. You know.
Exactly,
So it's
exactly.
it's a fine line. Whether is it heart or is it like whether you want or not?
Like
You
the
know.
discipline and throughout.
Yeah, for sure.
I know for a fact that my heart wasn't this strong, you know, before kids, you know, before having kids and before having a purpose and before having a whole country behind my back, right? Now I have more heart. But in that sense, life teaches you heart. You know, life teaches you heart, and it's on you to learn that, you know. When you say, can you teach heart? Yes, you can teach heart. Life will teach you to have heart, more heart, you know. But it's within you to have it. You know, it's within you to either get up and do it, or it's in you to stay down, you know.
Yeah.
For sure.
I got you. I think it's like cardio, right? Like if you don't have it, you got to
Yeah.
build it, right? And it's
Yeah.
like little by slowly, you know?
Yeah.
Because like some guys are raised like with like diligent parents, so
Yeah.
they can like. I think it's learned, you know, but you gotta work at it, right?
Yeah,
like,
you gotta work at it. You gotta work at it for sure. You gotta work at it, and then you also have like some people just have like. Some people just love to fart. I mean, to fight.
What?
That's true.
That's me.
That's true.
Some people just love to fight.
That's what
right?
that smell was just now.
Some people
Sorry,
are just
guys.
aggressive. Some people are just
Yeah.
naturally aggressive, right? But it mean like you can teach heart, but some people, I mean, if you give up once, it's easier for you to give up again.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what it is, right? Yeah. I have a friend in training that he used to always say that. He's like, he never let nobody sit out on jiu-jitsu class. He's
Yeah.
like, if you quit once, it's easier to do it again. But
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
don't know what
yeah,
it is and you just
yeah.
always train, even though
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
exhausted, you just do it,
Yep.
you don't know what it
Yeah.
is.
I know for a fact that my first fight with Vitaly, I was like, man, this is it. 5 rounds. This is it. This is the best guy in one championship. You know, this is it. I mean, it's not that big. It's not that big of a deal, you know. But before that, in your head, you build it up to be so
Yeah.
big, you know.
Yeah.
And then you realize it's not that big. It's the same with everything in life, you know. It's
fine.
the same thing with podcasting, right?
Oh yeah. I'm getting better. You know what I'm saying? I'm rolling with the punches, dog. You know, if you see my episodes from like the first
Yeah.
40 to now, you know.
Yeah, it's so much
We're a
better
whole
now,
nother
right?
grind. Yeah,
I'm so
for sure,
happy
man.
we're 40, not the first.
yeah, no, you
Hey.
guys are like at the hundos. You know what I'm
Hey,
saying?
and you're on the road as well, man. The setup, everything's
Yeah.
professional.
I talked with Martin. We talked a long time ago. I was trying to get you on a while back but it was like just before the pandemic. I remember we spoke a little bit, but man, guys, thank you so much for having me,
sure,
man.
man.
Thank you for having
For
me in
sure.
your home, Ang Lang. This was amazing, brother, with your amazing family. Yo, Martin,
It's good to see you.
fucking special fellow 1FC bludgeon out here.
Hey, we were
you
meant
know?
to fight the one time he was coming up in the ranks.
Yeah, I fucked that up though. You know, I messed it up.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, really is someone I might be actually fighting in the future. Look,
Yeah.
he's walking through people.
I ruined it, but I was one time in my life. I was like, I kind of went.
Hey,
close,
hey, I can referee you guys outside, okay?
I'm a podcaster now.
and I bring one of my belts.
Oh, we got the belts and everything, which is the what do you call it? The
Unofficial.
the unofficial, bro.
Thank you,
Anyways,
man.
boys, this was a
you, brother.
pleasure, man. I really
Likewise,
appreciate the
brother.
time, guys. What do we got going on? Anything, Martin? What's happening on?
Hopefully, we get a contract signed within the next few weeks. Man, Gary Turner, you want it or not? Do you want it or not? Let's do it, man. I got no fear. You got no fear. We're gonna show ourselves who's the best in this whole division, and then get one step closer to that title. Do you want it or do you not want it? Let me know.
Yo, if Gary wants it, I'll go get an interview with Gary, and then we'll do the sit down with you two guys. I'll be in the middle of the
Let's do it.
mediator. You know, I
Hey,
found
man.
my lane.
Let's do it. He's a great guy, man. He's a great guy.
That's a huge fight.
Yeah.
Martin Wynn versus for Gary Tonin. I'll pay for that for
Yeah.
sure.
And next week, our boy Teal will be fighting in All In Combat. Check it out. He's on his road to redemption. You know. And so he's on a 2-fight winning streak. This is gonna be hopefully our third.
Nice.
And Martin will be there as well.
Oh, awesome.
In
bro.
Louisiana.